welcome back to the Hardware News Recap of the Week. And this one, Stop Killing Games isn't dead. It got the signatures, but it still needs more of them. So we're going to talk about that. Additionally, a founding member of the Xbox team from back in the day has stated that Xbox looks kind of dead right now based on where they're going with it. Further, we'll be talking about the preview for our Liquid Metal Factory Tour. That's publishing on Monday, and that is featuring Der Bauer. It's at Thermal Grizzly's factory, which he owns, and he walks us through it. Further news in the week includes the RTX 5090D V2. They were going to call it the DD, but then everybody made fun of it, and so now it's probably going to be called the DV2, which is not that much of a better name. I don't know that it's... The other one might have actually been better. I'm not really sure yet. MSI has an AMD-based claw deviating from Intel, and plenty more this week. Before that, this video is brought to you by the Antec Flux series of cases. We previously benchmarked and independently reviewed the Flux Pro case and found it to be one of the best cases we tested last year. The Flux Pro features the modern trend of wood accents while also focusing on a high airflow design. We found its performance to be among the best in our thermal testing. The case also has a number of ease of installation features to make assembly and cable management easier. Learn more at the link in the description below. All right, so heads up, we have a really cool factory tour and educational sort of mini documentary on how liquid metal's made. This follows up our How Thermal Paste Was Made video, which also featured Der Bauer. So this was filmed at Thermal Grizzly's factory. We have a lot of really cool shots showing how the liquid metal is poured and transferred from one container to another. There's a lot of chemistry and science behind it. We go through the syringe filling machines. We take a stop at an SEM, or a scanning electron microscope, to look at how the liquid metal impacts different types of materials, of cold plates and things like that. And it's really educational, a lot of fun. Features Roman, of course, which everyone loves to see those videos when we're hosting them together, and that will go up on July 7th. We want you to be aware of it because we need you to check it out. This kind of stuff, it's a lot of expense for us to make these educational videos that are on location like this, significantly more expensive than locally. We do it because I like it. I think it's important, super cool. I like learning about it. They're not the biggest view drivers a lot of the time, but sometimes with enough emphasis beforehand, they can be. So check it out for us and help us out when it goes up on the 7th. And here is a 1-minute trailer. This is how liquid metal gets made. And making it comes with a lot of disclaimers.
In theory, it can get warm, it produces hydrogen, it can explode. You should not breathe it in.
Yeah.
Like that could really be dangerous. It's so small that you would not get it back out of your lung. It will oxidize anyway, anytime. The oven itself has to be chilled from the outside to not blow up. If you expose it to air, it can self-ignite.
Cool.
Yeah,
can we try it?
No?
Liquid metal is one of the highest performing thermal interfaces for electronics. Today, we're at the Thermal Grizzly factory in Germany, run by this guy, CEO and mad scientist Roman, aka Der Bauer.
It will turn into gallium oxyhydroxide.
Okay.
And that is the big problem. The gallium oxyhydroxide.
Yeah, we don't like that. I try to avoid it every day.
Don't we know it, yeah? Just checking that it's the right amount of indium. It's kind of like a miniature injection molding machine to some degree. That is mainly gallium oxide, which is fine. It protects the liquid metal underneath.
We're back for liquid metal. Also, just so not too many people are confused, Hyte is the advertiser in this one, and they, as part of the ad, they paid for me to do it in German. So I did my best. Like I think it's okay. I'm gonna apologize in advance if I screw up any of the pronunciation or the word choice. It doesn't really, like, that's the point of the ad. Was they said, hey, we would like to reach a European market, and do you think you could try and revive your high school level German that you haven't used in almost 2 decades? And I said, what could go wrong? Hopefully we don't offend anyone by accident, and if we do, please know that it was an accident. But if you want to hear it, then that's going to be that video. All right, related to all that, we're going to be traveling for the next several weeks on and off this month, putting together a huge separate investigation with a number of smaller deep dives in it. Also educational content. So this next one is going to be all over Asia. The first round of places we're going include Shenzhen, Huizhou, places like that. We'll also be in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and we're going to be visiting a bunch of different places for this investigation. I have some factory tours planned as well to get some more content like this out, like the liquid metal stuff. And then we have already booked for the main investigation that we're centered on that I can't say what it is yet. I was trying to figure out if I could say what company it's about, but I really shouldn't. I should keep my mouth shut for right now. The travel's already booked though. So we've got planes, high-speed rail, automobiles, and boats. I booked a speedboat. We needed it to get somewhere. You'll see it in the video. So we'll have a trailer for that sometime in the next several weeks. But anyway, point of bringing this up is we're going to be pretty busy. And so some publishing will slow down slightly, but we still have a lot of stuff going up. It's just there might be a slight gap in some of the publishing for a bit while we go film this. I am super excited. Love doing this kind of content. And it should be fun. So anyway, in the meantime, set a reminder for Monday to check out the video with Der Bauer. And additionally, if you want to support our educational deep dive travel content like this and the next one, we have a ton of stuff on the store to help us out and fund some of the extra expenses that go into producing this stuff. You can head over to store.gamersnexus.net. We just loaded up stock of the oxidation themed t-shirts, which feature an FE design rusted through by an oxidized Intel CPU. It features rust, wasted sand, and oxidation. These are available in cotton and tri-blend models and will directly support us. And of course, we also have things like our solder mats, our copper-plated stainless steel mule mugs, our PC building mod mats, which include 2 versions currently that we're selling for the large, and then we've got the mediums as well, and plenty more. Head over to the store, check it out, and let's get into the first story. Up first, some good news. Don't celebrate too early. There's still some action that's needed, but it's good news. So the Stop Killing Games initiative has exceeded the 1 million minimum required signatures for the EU Citizens Initiative, and then there's also the UK petition, which had a threshold of 100,000 signatures, and it has exceeded that as well. I think at the time we're filming this, it's 130, 140,000 signatures or something for the UK, which is crazy. Now, what that means is the Stop Killing Games campaign, which is focused at a very top level on ensuring some sort of end-of-life plan for games where there are online connected services so that the game remains in some kind of reasonably playable state. That is the quick top level. So that's what it's trying to do. But what that means next is that these actions will get some kind of attention from lawmakers. Remains to be seen exactly what that is and kind of what form it takes on or how it progresses. But they are now at a place where they should get attention. The reason that should is still there as a qualifier is because some of these signatures will be culled as a natural part of the process, where as the most innocent example, if someone signed it previously, forgot, and then was able to sign it again 6 months later or something like that, or fraudulent signatures. And so what we would like everyone to do who cares about this, if this is something you think is important and you want to see it move forward so that there's some kind of legislation that encourages some base level of access to the games you buy, even after they're phased out, then what you should do is still sign this if you have not yet already. So anyone who is an EU citizen can sign the EU citizens one, and then the UK one's available for those of you with UK citizenship. And so to feel comfortable about this, I think from what Ross Scott has been saying, at least an extra couple 100,000 signatures. I think their website for Stop Killing Games says an extra 400,000 is ideal, would kind of lock it in, where it's like, okay, everyone can breathe a sigh of relief that even as the natural sort of culling process of invalid signatures proceeds, hopefully these are still in excess of the threshold. So if you have not yet signed it and you think it's important and you went to the site and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not needed here, it's already done, you're still needed. You could still do something important, which is make sure that when the signatures are checked for validity, yours is on there to help pad those numbers in the positive direction. So if you don't know what's going on here, the quick recap is that Stop Killing Games is an initiative that attempts to require some level of end-of-life service for games with live service features or always online functionality. This would not apply retroactively. It would be focused only on the future and likely only after some reasonable grandfathering in timeline. It would also be beneficial to both single player and multiplayer games. So this counts for single player stuff too. We have an extended interview and discussion with the movement's Ross Scott, who's been doing all of the promotion, the discussions about this, and explaining how these things are supposed to work. That is on our GNCA channel. We talked about it also in Hardware News last week. As for what pushed this over the ledge in just the last week or so, it seems like it mostly came from some of YouTube's class of original stars. PewDiePie posted a community post about Stop Killing Games and encouraged his community to sign. And this is shortly after going full on Linux in one of his other videos, and that gave it a huge signal boost. Jacksepticeye posted a video about the subject as well. Dozens of videos exist on the platform now, too many to name everybody. It seems like everybody came out and talked about this. But these two posts in particular the last couple days correlated with the boost in signing. And the latest update on Accursed Farms, which he put together and published while we were working on this video, Ross brings up the same concerns and urges people to push for 1.4 million signatures for safety. He said he feels pretty good about the UK signature base where it's at now. And Ross also mentions that forging signatures on the EU Citizens Initiative form is actually a crime, so don't do that. And then he's got the full update on his channel if you'd like more of that. Again, we will link his channel below. So the forms are still open. We have linked them below. Again, the EU one goes in front of EU commissioners and is likely to get serious discussion if it maintains past that threshold. And the UK form passing the threshold would increase its chances of a real discussion amongst lawmakers in the UK. And then, as Ross said in our discussion and interview with him, anything that happens in the EU especially, but probably also the UK, would almost certainly have downstream effects in other countries. The US, Canada. If developers have to build in certain mechanisms to comply with laws, like you see with GDPR, for example, sometimes it's easier to just maintain those and deploy them to all regions than it is to say, okay, we've complied with the laws in this place. This one doesn't have those, so fuck this place in particular. So sometimes it's easier to just copy paste. And that's kind of the hope here, especially because it's technology, so it can literally be copied and pasted. So it might actually be more uphill of a battle to strip things out and architect it in a hostile way after you've already done the work to make it a little more compliant. So currently, again, this, to recap, it's in a good spot, not out of the woods yet, definitely needs more signatures to be safe. And then long term, we just need to see where it goes. This is sort of the start of it, where the next stages are the ones where now it's starting to get into the real momentum of, all right, now there's lawmakers paying attention to it. And at that point, we just got to see how it evolves. So I'm sure Ross will have an update on his channel at some point about all this. And he is on Accursed Farms on YouTube if you want to check him out. And you should anyway, even if this doesn't interest you. He does cool video game content that you might like, so you should check that out. Let's move on to the next story. All right, after the mess that was the original MSI Claw launch, which featured an Intel SoC, MSI launched its second Claw, also with Intel. We haven't had a chance to test that one yet. And now it's launching another one. MSI is launching its first AMD Claw. This is a revised A8 model that'll use the Ryzen Z2 Extreme. The company claims the A8 is the first handheld built with AMD's new APU, although the Z2 Go has already been used in the Lenovo Legion Go S. The Z2 Extreme chip features 8 cores, 16 threads, 16 graphics cores, an advertised 5 GHz max turbo, and Zen 5C clocks up to 3.3. That would be the top spec of these Z2 chips right now. MSI claims that the Z2 Extreme is up to 26.7% better in games and primarily cites the Z1 Extreme as its baseline for comparison. Its lowest performance uplift that it showed first party was a 16% improvement, and again, there may be stuff that's less than that, they just didn't choose to show it or didn't test it. MSI claims 19 hours of 1080p video playback, which seems maybe questionable, but we'll see if we can get one to test. Possible, but that is a long time. And it shows 3.5 hours of gaming in its so-called endurance mode, which clocks down the parts, so performance is lower, lasts longer though. In terms of other specs, the company advertises an 80 watt-hour battery, 8-inch 120Hz 1920 by 1200 touchscreen, 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5 memory, and Hall effect analog sticks and triggers. MSI also says the device is Wi-Fi 7 ready. Cooling is illustrated on the page as using dual blowers with a shared fat heat pipe over the SoC, and a bullet point that says it might not actually be what's in there. Colors include an actually pretty cool neon green and black option and white and black option. There's no firm widespread release date yet, but according to videocards.com, the A8 looks to be releasing in China sometime this month, with prospective buyers able to pre-order it for about 7,000 renminbi, which amounts to a steep about $975 US. And again, we're leaving for our major trip over to Asia pretty soon, which includes China, and so I'm gonna see if I can get one while I'm over there, and we'll buy it at an SEGE market or something and test it on the flight home, just like I did. It's like a celebration of the first MSI Claw we reviewed, hopefully with a more positive conclusion this time. Now, in our previous news episode, we talked about how MSI teamed up with Pixar to create 30th anniversary Toy Story themed hardware. Now, not to be outdone, Hyte is teaming up with Gundam Wing and Bandai Namco to create Gundam Wing 30th anniversary hardware. Next up, we expect 30th anniversary hardware from NZXT, celebrating Ace Ventura.
I have a package for you. Sounds broken.
Most likely, sir. I'll bet it was something nice, though.
And while we wait for that collaboration, which NZXT either really doesn't deserve or is perfectly deserving of, I guess, Hyte's new gear consists of a reskinned Y70, keycaps, a desk pad, and a wall scroll. Hyte is calling its revised chassis the, quote, official Gundam Wing Y70 Touch Infinite limited edition case, end quote. And unfortunately, they're probably going to have to raise the prices again to pay for all the ink they're going to need to use to put that name on the side of the cardboard boxes. The company says it, quote, features a custom white colorway with stylized black trim across the case and a variety of accented components based on the XXXG-00W0 Wing Gundam Zero color scheme. The quote continues, it says, these include a bright yellow power button, red feet for the case, yellow drive bays, and PCIe slot covers, and a red PCIe 4.0 luxury riser cable from Hyte, end quote. Not really sure what a luxury riser cable is, but okay. Hyte also says the case's Touch Infinite display will feature a quote, custom startup visuals inspired by the anime, end quote. Everything on the case is painted custom as well. As for keycaps, there'll be 152 of them that are compatible with, they say, most ANSI and UK ISO keyboards. Hyte says that the keycaps, quote, utilize Gundam Wing's color scheme and iconography to highlight the anime's two iconic mechs, the XXXG-01W Gundam Wing, and the OZ-13MS Gundam. I'm going to go with Epion, end quote. And I have nearly 100% certainty that I've read something incorrectly or suboptimally in that string of alphanumeric identifiers. I am so sorry. I am not familiar with the correct pronunciation of the Gundam Wing mech suits. That was... I don't know if I've used the right word. Mech suit seemed risky. I probably shouldn't have chosen. I probably should have just said I'm gonna get out of here before it's too late. Now, the Wingman to the Gundam Wing themed keycaps is the dueling Gundam Wing themed desk pad, which measures 900mm by 400mm. And finally, the wall scroll features the 5 main Gundam Wing mobile suits. Up next, speaking of pissing off a specific segment of the internet, NVIDIA. NVIDIA has more GPUs. Aren't you excited? According to Copy7 Kimi, the noted hardware leaker suggests that NVIDIA will be releasing both an RTX 5070 Super and a 5070 Ti Super. And if those don't work out, NVIDIA will launch the 5070 Ti Super Duper Ultimate Maximum Edition. The GPU launches will continue until the morale improves.
We're gonna be rich.
Regarding the 5070 Super, Copy7 Kimi tweeted that it will have 6400 CUDA cores. This would be 256 more than the 5070 before it, which offers 6144 CUDA cores. And in terms of VRAM, the leaker says that the card will come with 18 gigabytes of GDDR7 memory at 28 gigabits per second and a TGP, or total graphics power, that amounts to 275 watts. That would be 25 watts more than the 5070's 250. The VRAM increase is definitely more notable. That's up from 12 gigabytes to now 18. Moving on to the 5070 Ti Super Non-Duper Edition, the leaker says that it will use the GB203-350-A1 GPU and offers 8960 CUDA cores. And unfortunately, these are just normal CUDA cores, not super duper ones. This is the same count as the RTX 5070 Ti's 8960 CUDA cores, and it's 1792 fewer than the RTX 5080, which offers 10,752. For VRAM, the card will supposedly offer 24 gigabytes of G7 memory at 28 gigabits per second and will be a 350 watt card, up from the 16 gigabytes of memory on the 5070 Ti, and actually also higher than the 16 gigabyte RTX 5080. So it's actually feasible if you found the right scenario with the production application, like I could actually definitely do this in Adobe Premiere or Encoder, but it's feasible that a 5070 Ti with 24 gigabytes of VRAM might be more useful than a 5080 with 16 in certain applications and use cases, where if you're exceeding the VRAM, it doesn't matter if the 5080 has more CUDA cores, if it just can't use anything because it's saturated, which is a problem. Actually, we did testing with the 5080 16 versus a 3090, I think it was, which is 24 gigabytes of VRAM, and the 3090 was outperforming it for our Adobe Premiere workload. So these rumors from Copite 7 Kimi follow one from May 20th, in which the leaker alleged that an RTX 5080 Super was also in the works. That card back then was reported to be using the GPU GB203-450-A1, featuring a rumored 10,752 CUDA cores, the same as the 5080. With 24 gigabytes of GDDR7 at 32 gigabits per second. In our 50 series partner coverage back in January, we remarked how MSI accidentally had an RTX 5080 box in some of its product videography that stated 24 gigabytes on the side. Now at the time, our assumption was that NVIDIA planned to do 24 gigabytes and then got it back to 16 somewhere after the boxes had been printed, or at least some of the early boxes. It's possible that MSI screwed up, but especially now that these are starting to come out, it looks like something switched last second, or they decided to hold it for the Super Series to get a product refresh in there. But anyway, more GPUs. So like I said a moment ago, the GPU launches will continue until morale improves. Up next, NVIDIA's China-exclusive 5090D has been rebranded and reworked 2 times now, not counting the original one. So it was the 5090, that became the 5090D for the China market, and then it became, very briefly, it became the 5090DD. And then they changed it very quickly after that to the 5090DV2, which is what it is now. The reason NVIDIA is doing this is to comply with export control laws from the US for shipments into China. NVIDIA created the 5090D for the China market. However, in April, several reports claimed that NVIDIA told partners it would suspend the 5090D shipments to China. NVIDIA has changed product specifications in the past for China-specific GPUs in order to work around US export controls on processing power. And who knows how the rules could change further. If NVIDIA has to add a third D to its 5090 variant for China, though, we have a naming recommendation for them.
King TDD.
As reported by Tom's Hardware and Video Cards, Twitter user MegaSizeGPU revealed the alleged name of the next RTX 5090 variant for the China market. MegaSizeGPU has a pretty good track record and actually was one of the originals who reported the prototype that we got a couple years later and took apart. According to the leak, the new China-specific GPU will be called the RTX 5090DV2. The reports claim the 5090DV2 will replace the temporarily rumored and inbound RTX 5090 Double D branding. In a table with the rumored specs, Tom's Hardware said the RTX 5090DV2 will have 24 gigabytes of VRAM and a 384-bit bus, which is reduced from the 512-bit interface found on both the 5090D and the normal 5090. The RTX 5090DV2 would have the same number of CUDA cores at 21,760 as the normal 5090 and the 5090D, meaning its primary cut down comes from the memory reduction from 32 gigabytes and the drop in bandwidth. Tom's reports a change from 1792 gigabytes per second to 1344 gigabytes per second. Based on machine translation, HKEPC Hardware said that the 5090DV2 is expected to be released in August. The article did not include specific pricing information. As for us, we're just waiting for the RTX 5090DV2 Super, which will bring it back to 32 gigabytes of memory. Up next, 2 quick case stories. Phanteks and Montech are launching the first of their cases that we saw at Computex a couple months ago, now finalized and going to retail. We'll start with the Phanteks XTM3. So the Phanteks XTM3 is a $70 micro-ATX case. It uses a ventilated mesh front, elevated base for GPU intake from the floor of the chassis, and claims support for up to 360mm radiators at the top of the enclosure. Phanteks says the XTM3 supports up to 9 fans, with the company positioning it mostly for larger component support, like video cards and radiators, while still compacting it to a smaller total footprint with MATX. In related news, Montech is launching its X5 and X5M cases that we also saw at Computex and talked about in the news videos there. The X5M is also micro-ATX like the M3, and it's focusing on affordability. The X5M is currently $55 on Newegg, though it might go up, and it includes 4 120mm ARGB fans. The X5M is more of a small mid-tower case, rather than the boxier compacted XTM3. Montech's going for 3 front-mounted fans and 1 rear fan by default. And if you want more visuals on these, you can check out our Computex coverage from about 2 months ago. So Microsoft up now with the news that Microsoft is partnering with Asus for an ROG Xbox Ally handheld, coupled with rumors that Microsoft allegedly sidelined its own first-party handheld solution. Laura Fryer, one of the founding members behind the original Xbox, posted a video to her YouTube channel recently describing the state of Xbox as, quote, chaos, end quote. And she called the ROG Xbox Ally into question by asking, quote, is the flashy new ROG Ally the real deal? On her YouTube channel, by her name, Fryer stated this.
There's literally no reason to buy this handheld. Obviously, as one of the founding members of the Xbox team, I'm not pleased with where things are today. I don't love watching all of the value that I helped create slowly get eroded away. I'm sad because from my perspective, it looks like Xbox has no desire or literally can't ship hardware anymore. So this partnership is about a slow exit from the hardware business completely. Personally, I think Xbox hardware is dead.
Fryer's comments also follow Xbox's controversial "This is an Xbox" campaign, which states that several devices, including smartphones, laptops, and TVs, are Xboxes, which they're not. On this note, she stated,
Xbox Anywhere means that I can play that game on any platform. I can play it on Xbox or PC. I may even be able to play it on the PS5 or the Switch. So why would I buy the ROG Ally?
Fryer opining that, quote, I think Xbox hardware is dead, end quote, is in stark contrast to the fact that Xbox President Sarah Bond recently said, quote, I am thrilled to share we've established a strategic multi-year partnership with AMD to co-engineer silicon across a portfolio of devices, including our next generation Xbox consoles in your living room and in your hands, end quote. And transitioning cleanly into our next story with foreshadowing actually in Laura Fryer's video too, Microsoft is laying off thousands of people across basically its entire gaming division right now.
Fuck Microsoft! Okay. Fuck!
Microsoft has mass layoffs right now. After a Bloomberg report suggesting that layoffs at Xbox would be imminent, Insider Gaming reportedly got a hold of an internal email from Xbox CEO Phil Spencer to Microsoft employees. The alleged memo reads, quote, today we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization to position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. The next part of the email is a little weird, but it's not that weird, I guess, if you assume that they are writing for investors when they inevitably read the leaked email. It says this, quote, I recognize these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. We must make choices now for continued success. This is just, as I was reading this is kind of reminding me of something. Let's just, here it is.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Growth.
Anyway, Lord Farquaad, Phil Spencer continued and said, quote, we will protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential while delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. The focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come. Gross. Anyway, good time to start gaslighting for Phil Spencer, I guess. That last half, that ain't it. But the CEO added, quote, our momentum is not accidental. It is the result of years of dedicated effort from our teams, end quote. And just, if this is what momentum looks like, I really don't want to see what regression looks like. In a memo obtained by Variety, Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, followed up Spencer's message by stating, I want to share more about the changes to the studio business units. We've made the decision to stop development of Perfect Dark and Everwild, as well as wind down several unannounced projects across our portfolio. As part of this, we're closing one of our studios, The Initiative. Now, the original Perfect Dark games were made by Rare, but the Perfect Dark reboot was being developed by The Initiative. Rare, which was purchased by Microsoft in 2002, wasn't spared. However, the studio was working on Everwild, which was announced in 2019. This whole thing is weird because I'm about to give you a list of a ton of studios that are getting the axe. And a lot of these are studios that Microsoft has sort of famously acquired for collectively many tens of billions of dollars. I think the Activision purchase was like, I don't know, it's like comparable to the Louisiana purchase. Like, that's how insane that one was, depending on how you slice up the numbers. We did it when it happened. I don't remember the details. I don't like memorize Louisiana purchase facts, but I did briefly learn them for that news video when they bought Activision. Point is, they spent a lot of money and they're kind of like getting rid of most of the stuff they spend it on. Several game developers and games were impacted by the cuts. IGN reports that Candy Crush developer Kanan and Bethesda's London office were, quote, hit hard, unquote. Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier posted that Raven, one of the developers that worked on the Call of Duty franchise, also got hit by layoffs. He also reported that Forza Motorsport developer Turn 10 had nearly 50% of its staff affected. Elsewhere in the Xbox verse, where developers got snapped away, GameSpot reported that High Moon Studios was affected. The studio worked on Call of Duty Warzone as well as other COD games. Speaking of COD, even Sledgehammer Games, who worked on several COD titles, was impacted. Blizzard was hit with layoffs as well. Engadget reports that 5 employees were let go from Halo Studios. Romero Games, which is the studio co-founded by original Doom designer John Romero, also tweeted that its unannounced game was being cancelled as a result of the cuts. Finally, ZeniMax Online Studios' upcoming MMO project, codenamed Blackbird, which was in development for nearly a decade of work, was reportedly cancelled, with studio president Matt Fuhrer stepping down. So to bring it back to Phil Spencer,
growth.
It realistically looks like Xbox is not going to do that anytime soon. We're really puzzled by Xbox strategy here. It spent $7.5 billion on ZeniMax Media in 2021. Followed by an unprecedented $68.7 billion on Activision Blizzard. That was in 2023, only to seemingly conduct mass layoffs at all those companies and their subsidiaries while continuing to hit rock bottom, as a quote, in sales. At this point, it's just like, come on, do something. In total, CNBC reports that Microsoft will let go of roughly 9,000 people. The publication notes that this is under 4% of the company's total workforce. This is on top of roughly 6,000 layoffs in May and an additional 300 in June. CNBC writes that, quote, executives are still trying to reduce management layers, end quote. It's sounding a little Intel-y over there with one massive difference, which is that Microsoft is currently one of the most valuable companies in the world. I think at the moment I'm filming this, it is the second most valuable company in the world by market capitalization at $3.6 trillion. And one of the most profitable companies within the S&P 500, according to FactSet. All right, that's it for hardware news this week. Thanks as always for watching. We're gonna be very busy the next several weeks, so check back regularly for the uploads. We have a lot of stuff, mostly technical interviews going up and discussion, but a lot of stuff I'm excited about. So those will be going up on the channel. Subscribe for all that. You can go to store.gamersnexus.net to support us directly. For example, by buying one of our limited reruns we decided to do of the original mod mat design. People were asking for this. We haven't printed it in several years, and we first launched it in 2017, so we decided to put one more run out of this one before we retire this design completely. It is on store.gamersnexus.net. And you know, when it's rolled up like this, just saying, if you need it like, you know, like a baseball bat, for sports. It's for liability reasons, I have to say, for sports. Whatever you're thinking, Phil Spencer, don't use this for it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Go to store.gamersnexus.net. We'll see you all next time.